Welcome to K-Drama Cuts, where we discuss K-dramas in 15 minutes or less. This video will feature an apocalyptic drama called Sweet Home. Watch the video and enjoy. In an apartment complex called Green Home, a teenage boy named Yoonsu had just moved in. He lost his family in a car crash which made him live a depressed and suicidal life. Various people are living in Green Home. A few are Yoonhyuk, a medical student living with his aloof sister, Yoonyu, Jisoo, a bass guitarist, Jaehan, a Korean language teacher and a devout Christian, Yik-young, a firefighter whose fiancée suddenly disappeared, and Sangwook, a thug who isn't a resident but has taken a resident captive. One night, the residents on the ground floor were distressed after being locked in the building. They attempted to open the shutters, but a tongue monster attacked them. After getting rid of it, they witnessed more of its kind taking over the streets. This marked the start of the apocalypse. The residents received emergency alerts learning that symptoms include excessive nosebleeds, blackouts, and sudden aggressive behavior. Yoonsu witnessed a neighbor become the hungry monster. He also saw the apartment guard, Mr. Kim, who also became a monster, whereas Jisoo ran into a guy transforming. Jaehan came to her rescue and sliced its head in half with a sword, making it the blind monster. The hungry monster reappeared, but Sangwook struck it to pass out this time. When Sangwook arrived on the ground floor, the residents brought him to a lockup as they suspected he was infected. Meanwhile, Yoonsu had a symptom of a nosebleed. He decided to push through with his suicide so he could die as a human. However, he witnessed the eyeball monster attack a family, where the father was killed. Yoonsu saved the two kids, Sooyoung and Yongsu, from the monster, and in turn, Yoonsu was saved by his disabled neighbor, Dusik. As Yoonsu rescued the kids, he had a blackout where his subconscious was convincing him to embrace his monster side. He woke up with the steroid monster charging toward them. While stalling the monster, he ordered the kids to run off. Jisoo and Jaehan came and rescued him. They have put aside the realization that Yoonsu was infected. The kids passed the blind monster who was thrown off the building after having a fight with the steroid monster. The steroid monster caught up with the kids, but a lady with a stroller, Myeong-suk, got in the way and protected them. With her stroller on the ground, she was reminded of the child she had lost in an accident. This triggered her to turn and attack the steroid monster. Yoonsu took the kids away and Jaehan lured the steroid monster to jump out the window. Jisoo was surprised to witness Myeong-suk turn back into a human. They all went to Dusik's apartment for dinner. As everyone else slept, Yoonsu and Jisoo promised to kill each other if one of them transformed. Yik-young, who fixed the building's electricity from the basement, was attacked and trapped by the spider monster. Yoonhyuk knew about this but didn't warn her, which made her furious when she escaped. Sangwook's captive, Yoonjae, previously freed by Jisoo, and Jaehan headed down to give out food to the other residents. The government has declared a state of emergency. Through speakers, Yoonhyuk convinced everyone to gather downstairs as it would be safer. Jinok opened the shutters on the sly, then defended that her daughter was coming. The injured daughter then showed up, and the soldier rushed out to help, but the tongue monster impaled and sucked them both dry. The residents grieved over the recent deaths. The military announced martial law and explained that deep human desires turn people into monsters. They have determined the best time to attack a monster called Golden Hour, where infectees are most vulnerable and can't recover from injuries. Jaehan, Jisoo, and Yoonsu decided to leave for the ground floor, leaving Dusik, the kids, and Myeong-suk behind. Yoonsu was attacked by the speed monster, so he fell 9 floors down. He woke up in a room where Yoonhyuk explained what had happened to him. As the ground floor residents discovered that Yoonsu was infected, they held a pole to kick him out. It resulted in a tie that upset the opposed convenience store owner, Sukyeon. Karma came through him, and he suddenly started showing symptoms. With Yoonsu yet to vote, he insisted on being isolated with Sukyeon instead. Yoonjae ran into Sangwook, who then assaulted him. He broke free after Sangwook acquired his key. He begged to be locked up, faking an infection. Myeong-suk and Dusik were now in charge of the kids. Myeong-suk made Dusik promise to kill her once she transformed. Eventually, she did transform into a giant fetus-like monster called the infant monster, but Dusik couldn't fulfill his promise. Yoonhyuk dangerously made Yoonsu run errands upstairs. He also ordered Yoonsu to bring Dusik over, furtively mentioning to make Dusik the priority and leave the kids behind if things went south. Yik-young argued with Yoonhyuk for using Yoonsu, but Yoonhyuk reasoned that Yoonsu could be their strongest weapon. He mentioned a previous Krukru blog that called the disease a curse. Yik-young was reminded of her fiancé viewing the same blog. Sangwook joined Yoonsu head upstairs, and they were attacked by monsters. Fortunately, an old man, Gilsob, and his caregiver, Yuri, rescued them. The rescuers accompanied Yoonsu to get Dusik and the kids while Sang-wook went to Yoonjae's. In a flashback, it was revealed that Sang-wook killed his father's arsonist, then became a hitman who punishes evil with evil. His client, an impoverished father looking for his kidnapped daughter, led him to Yoonjae. After discovering that Yoonjae is a pedophile killing kids, he stormed Yoonjae downstairs and had a brawl. Sang-wook took hits but ultimately won, killing Yoonjae. He dragged Youngjae's corpse out of the building to feed the tongue monster and brought in the bodies of Jinok's daughter and the soldier. He was locking himself out, but Jaehan stopped him. The day after, the residents held a funeral for all the deaths. Yoonhyuk created rules to establish order among the residents. They kept Yoonsu in a lockup and only freed him for errands occasionally. They also conducted a simulation to be prepared for a monster attack. Later, a hairy monster appeared who Sonyong recognized as his husband, the store owner, Sukyeon. Sonyong held a long-time grudge against his husband, so when he begged to end his life, she killed him. Yik-young learned she was pregnant. She knew she wanted answers to questions relating to her fiancé, so she left for his office. She discovered that her fiancé was the Krukru blog writer, and that he volunteered to be experimented on to resist monsterization after being infected. The military found and captured her for interrogation. To be spared, she revealed about Yoonsu who was fighting monsterization. The military sergeant, Yujin, said they call those like Yoonsu special infectees who normally don't survive after 15 days of their first symptom. Yujin shared that they had one survivor but had left their camp without a trace. She left Yik-young with a tracker or alert device and ordered her to report back about Yoonsu. Back at Green Home, the residents planned to acquire supplies from outside. Yoonhyuk ordered Yoonsu to fix the camera in the basement. However, the spider monster caught him in its web. Yoonhyuk, Sang-wook, Jisoo, and Jaehan went to rescue Yoonsu, but other monsters followed them. Gilsob showed up with a fire thrower and burned the monsters. Once they returned inside, the spider monster had pierced Dusik's leg. Yoonsu bravely attacked the monster and successfully disabled it. The residents realized that Yoonsu doesn't need to return to his cell as he clearly has no intention of hurting them. The residents' clean water supply ran low as Jaewon greedily took a shower. Yoonhyuk discussed with Dusik and agreed that they must move out immediately. Sunwin saw them and thought they were planning an escape. He panicked until Gilsob calmed him down. Simultaneously, Jisoo fell ill because of her appendix. Yoonyu suggested forming a dispatch team and convinced her brother to perform surgery on Jisoo. Yoonhyuk gave in and ordered the dispatch team to prioritize medical supplies. The team of Yoonsu, Sang-wook, Gilsob, and Yuri got in a car. Yoonsu remembered that was the day he had set his suicide. A flashback showed Yoonsu being bullied by his classmates to the point of taking it out on himself. Flashback stopped, and their car was flipped by the steroid monster in an evolved form. Yoonsu and Gilsob failed at their attacks. The monster then aimed at Gilsob until Yik-young arrived in a fire truck and rammed the monster into a wall. She pushed it down the cliff, trapped under a burning container. They all returned to the building right after the incident. Jisoo's surgery came about and ended successfully while the dispatch team was outside. The residents still had clean water thanks to Yik-young's fire truck. Yik-young went to Yoonsu to ask how he was managing monsterization. He told her that he just wanted to live. She told Yoonsu about the government's experiment to prevent monsterization and confessed that she told the military about him. At dinner, Sonyeon shared she began having symptoms. She insisted on being kicked out of the building, but the residents differed and isolated her in a room instead. Later, Yik-young discovered an insider who she had defeated. She ordered to take down the SOS banner put up before. Returning from an errand, Yoonsu and Sang-wook saw Mr. Kim riding down the elevator. They alerted everyone through their alarm system made of strings and bells. Yoonsu hastily jumped and broke his leg. The guard reached the ground floor and chased Jinok, who gave him rotten fish, which triggered his turning. Jaehan came to the rescue with his sword but ended up with a severed arm. Ultimately, he sacrificed himself to get rid of the monster. Everyone mourned his death. The soldiers are on the move to track down their first escapee. They burned the bodies they found. An armored car was headed to Green Home. It crashed into the building, and what the residents thought contained soldiers contained thugs instead. The thug leader, Jung-sup, killed the insider from earlier. Yik-young and Sang-wook were out of sight, as well as Yongsu, who was safeguarded by the slime monster. The thugs gathered everyone and restricted anyone from any action. A resident was killed. Jung-sup made an introduction and Yoonhyuk questioned their motive. Yoonyu and Yoonsu tried to cut him off, but he told them they should wait for the right moment to make a move. Jung-sup asked who leads the residents, and Yoonhyuk presented himself. He was offered to join their gang and leave the residence. Yoonhyuk accepted. Then a thug alerted Jung-sup about Sonyong. While Yoonhyuk argued that there are monsters who don't cause harm, Jung-sup was determined to shoot Sonyong. so he did. Sang-wook and Yik-young eventually found Young-soo with the slime monster behind him. Young-soo was adamant that the slime monster was not bad and that it helped him. Back at the residence, Yik-young ambushed the thugs who then chased her. The residents made their own attacks, including Yoon-seok who took on Jung-sup. Thugs were killed and locked up. The commotion stopped when Jung-sup shot Yoon-soo and pointed a gun at Yoon-seok. Suddenly, Son-young, who they thought was dead, showed up. She killed a thug with ease and eyed Yoon-seok as her next target. Yoon-soo got in the way, so Son-young's monster hand speared through him. Yoon-soo was forced to choke her in return until she passed out. The thugs discovered Yoon-soo to be the same as Son-young. Jung-sup planned to kill the monsters, ordering to burn Son-young and bringing Yoon-soo along for them to kill. The residents were left with 2 thugs keeping an eye on them. But thanks to Yik-young, these thugs were eliminated. At the rooftop, Jung-sup was about to kill Yoon-soo when Eum-young interfered and threw Jung-sup off the rooftop instead. Another thug tried to kill Eum-young but was killed. Eum-young revealed that he is a special infectee like Yoon-soo and only joined Jung-sup's group to disguise himself. Soon, helicopters dropped special infectee report guides. These military flyers promise a route to safety contingent on reports of a special infectee. The remaining thug rushed to the ground floor, submitting himself and informing the residents of the news. After Eum-young asserted that monsters killing humans was only natural, Yoon-soo countered that there are monsters that don't kill people. Yoon-soo showed him Myeong-suk's monster, the fetus monster, which Eum-young acknowledged. However, he questioned Yoon-soo's confidence in whether humans would do the same and never harm them. When they returned to the ground floor, the residents greeted them with guns. To test their trust in him, Yoon-soo convinced the residents to put their weapons down, which they did. Yoon-soo apologized to Yik-young for killing Son-young, who had become like a sister to her, but Yik-young knew he had no choice. Eum-young talked to Yoon-soo and shared how cruel the experiment had been when he volunteered to be cured. Despite all treatments, nothing came out because the monster was not in him, the monster was him. He invited Yoon-soo to join him in searching for others like them. He claimed that humans and monsters couldn't possibly coexist. Later, they witnessed residents get rid of the slime monster, which validated Eum-young's point. Eum-young still wasn't welcomed in their group despite being Yoon-soo's ally. As an apology for everything, he shared with Yik-young and Yoon-seok the authorities' plan to purge the cities. This was what the golden hour actually meant, since they couldn't distinguish monsters from humans and know when they would turn. Yik-young disclosed to Yoon-seok the alert device the military gave her. Yoon-seok kept it in a drawer. But Jaewon, who wasn't aware of the authorities' lies, saw them, sneaked in, and stole the device to alert the authorities. Yuri had an asthma attack earlier and later collapsed. Sang-wook rushed to bring her to a car, but Eum-young, who thought they could go to the authorities, blocked them. Yoon-soo told Eum-young not to worry as he would be coming with him soon. However, Eum-young ignored Yoon-soo's words and opened fire at Sang-wook and Yuri and 2 other residents. Yoon-soo retaliated and soon turned into a monster growing a spiky arm, which fascinated Eum-young. Shortly after, Eum-young dissolved and was defeated. Dusik in his half-monster form entered and calmed Yoon-soo down, sacrificing himself. Once he returned as human, he realized what he had done and broke down. He kept saying sorry while Dusik comforted him until the end. Yoon-soo woke up and couldn't remember a thing, but he felt he's done something wrong. After giving Dusik's gifts to the kids, Gilsob passed peacefully. He had been digging the soil in hopes of finding something. Rewardingly enough, he left the residents his last gift, a secret tunnel. Soldiers arrived following Juin's alert call. They began to fire bullets at the building. The residents sought shelter in the tunnel. Noticing that Yoon-soo was left behind, Yoon-seok insisted on getting him. He tried to convince Yoon-soo, but Yoon-soo went outside and faced the authorities. Yoon-seok decided to stay and started having symptoms just as when the building was about to collapse. Yoon-soo was devastated to realize that his brother wasn't coming back. They found a way out, but the authorities were already there. Yik-young joined the soldiers. She advised the residents to stay alive before they left for a safe place. Yoon-soo woke up in an armored vehicle, greeted by Sang-wook, disguised as a soldier. To help this channel grow, please like this video and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be updated for the next upload. See you. Stay safe.